It is 7 o'clock, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city officials. Welcome to the October 13, 2025 regular city council meeting. We are meeting at 26 South Paint Street, Chiillicothe, Ohio, and I would ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Bennett, Payne, McCourt, Barnes,
Here.
McKeever, here. Dement, here. Preston, Dunn, here. Creed,
Here.
Ms. Bennett let me know that she couldn't be here this evening. Is there a motion to excuse Ms. Bennett? Motion by Mr. Creed, seconded by Mr. McKeever, and the clerk will call the roll.
Payne, McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Ms. Bennett is excused from this meeting, and I would ask Mr. Dement to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The minutes from the September 22nd, 2025 regular meeting have been distributed. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept? Motion by Ms. Payne, seconded by Mr. McCourt, and the clerk will call the roll.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The minutes are approved. We'll move to reports of committees. Development Committee, Mr. Dement.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Development has 4 items on tonight's agenda. We'll start with item 1, which is the third reading of an ordinance adopting the new Unified Development Code and repealing Part 11, Chapter 1321 and Chapter 1322 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Chiillicothe, pursuant to ORC Section 71307 through ORC Section 71312. And at the appropriate time this evening, I'm going to make a motion to amend the legislation to correct 3 typographical errors in the UDC exhibit attached to this legislation, and also to change the effective date of this ordinance from immediately upon its passage to commencing on December 1st, 2025. Item number 3 is the second reading of a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract between the City of Chiillicothe and Green Township for a joint economic development district and declaring an emergency. And at the appropriate time, I will also request to waive the 3 reads on that. Item number 4 is the first reading of a resolution authorizing the mayor or president of council to execute an economic development transfer form, a TREX, for a liquor permit for Ohio Springs doing business as Sheets, number 825, located at 1525 North Bridge Street. And the last item is number 7, which is a first reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a development agreement with the Ross County Community Improvement Corporation to enter into an agreement and otherwise take all action necessary to convey ownership of certain real estate of the city located at 364 Fifth Street and 145 Southbridge Street over to the Ross County Community Improvement Corporation, and further authorizing the transfer of this property to promote the welfare of the citizens of Chiillicothe and declaring an emergency. And also at the appropriate time, I will request to waive the 3-read rule on this one as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Engineering Committee, Ms. Dunn.
I have no report and nothing on the agenda tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance and Technology Committee, Mr. Creed.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We had a committee meeting earlier this evening on assignment 25-079, and this was on appropriation of funds to various expense lines for end-of-year expenses, and the committee voted to move that forward, so that should be on our next agenda. We have one item on the agenda tonight. That is item number 2. It's a second reading of an ordinance to approve current replacement pages of the Chiillicothe codified ordinances and declare an emergency, and we'll let that go to the next read. Thank you.
Thank you. Human Resources Committee, Ms. Payne.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We do not have an item on the agenda this evening. However, we did have a committee meeting earlier this evening on assignment 25-075, and that's on an ordinance to authorize and guide the use of project labor agreements. That was our second committee meeting on that. We are still gathering information, so we will schedule a third meeting at some point on this. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Parks and Rec Committee, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. There's nothing on the agenda and nothing new to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Safety Service Committee, Ms. Preston.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Safety Services has nothing on the agenda and nothing to report, but I do want to call a committee meeting to review the safety or the, what are they called? Speed humps. Speed humps. We've had some additional added to our list, so I want to go over those and the cost, and that has been forwarded to Auditor Spetnagel as well. So I want to hold that committee meeting on 10/20, October 20th at 6:30 p.m. here in Council Chambers. Thank you.
Thank you. Utilities Committee, Mr. McKeever.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Utilities has 2 items on the agenda for tonight. Item number 5, which is a first read of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a second amendment to the lease agreement between the City of Chiillicothe and T-Mobile Central, LLC, for telecommunications equipment located at 529 West Water Street, Chiillicothe. Item number 6, first read for an ordinance repealing all prior versions of Section 91508 of the Codified Ordinance of the City of Chiillicothe, Part 9, Title 3, Public Utilities, and enacting a new Section 915.08 to clarify and update the water rate provisions. That concludes my report.
Thank you. City Services Committee, Mr. McQuirt.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. I have nothing on the agenda tonight. I would like to report about the Transit Advisory Board meeting I was at on the 18th of September. Director Mark Matthews and Transit Coordinator Amy Arnold are doing such a great job with the transit that they're going to be able to continue into next year with 0 fees for people traveling on transit. So I think that's great, and that's all I have to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bennett isn't here for Community Affairs, but she informed me that Mr. McKeever would have her report.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Yes, I've been nominated to do that, apparently. The Community Affairs had a committee meeting on October 9th for assignment 25080, which is a resolution to authorizing the participation in the PFAS litigation. Now, it was passed on to, or voted on and approved and submitted to the law director, which is now on the current agenda for item number 8, which is a first read of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement with Grossman and Kelly, PLLC, for legal services to prosecute civil claims related to PFAS contamination, MDL 2873, and declaring an emergency. That concludes the report.
Thank you. We'll now move on to reports of officials. Mayor Feeney.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. First, I would like to comment on tonight's agenda and specifically pay a little bit of attention to item number 1. Item number 1 is it's a big deal. It was one of the top priorities coming out of the Choose Chiillicothe Comprehensive Plan. In just a couple short years after the passage of that plan, we are now faced with the third reading of a new development code. The sort of consternation and frustration that I heard sort of leading into the comprehensive plan conversation and conversations about previous plans that the city has was essentially along the lines of, don't pass something that's just going to sit on the shelf. So I would like to thank City Council. I would like to thank Mr. Baird, who's here with us tonight, for shepherding this through. This was a big, heavy lift. Mr. Baird has made countless visits to Chiillicothe over the last couple of years. But I believe the end result and what the public will see and be able to use is not only a very thoughtful document, but one that is a lot easier to use than what we have today. And it will guide development in this community for a long time to come and was very necessary. And so I think it is the case that sometimes comprehensive plans get passed and then they sit on the shelf. But this council took the initiative to appropriate the money and push forward with a big, progressive, forward-thinking review of our codified ordinances, our zoning. And so I just want to thank you for taking that initiative and following through, and you, David, for helping us through that, because it's a big deal. Everybody involved deserves a lot of credit, because I think it will be impactful for a long time to come. On the heels of what I'm assuming will be passage tonight, tomorrow, actually, there will be training on our newly passed Uniform Development Code, because particularly for internal staff and members of the Planning Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals, because we want to make sure that not only do we have this new shiny tool, but that those tasked with administering it are well informed and educated on how to do it. And so I think that the council's decision to appropriate the funds not only to make the modifications, but also train the staff was forward thinking as well. So I would urge support tonight. Councilman DeMint mentioned a couple changes, of course, which were in line with the no significant changes, just typographical errors. And then, of course, the idea that it doesn't go into effect immediately. We want the community to have time to adapt, people to learn how to use it, and so forth before it actually goes into effect at a later date. And even that small change is something that will be useful for us in the committee. So thank you, and I encourage your affirmative vote tonight. I'll also comment on a couple of the other development items that Mr. DeMint mentioned. The item 3, the JED conversation, which has been going on for a couple years now, with some specificity and for more than a decade in theory. I believe Mr. DeMint was going to move for passage tonight of that, and I encourage and support that concept. The public hearing, the committee meetings, good engagement between the city council, Green Township trustees, school board, just a really good example of how the community can work together to further development in and between the city and the county. And then also item number 7, which is the Tiffin property. I'd like to thank the Law Director's Office and Councilman DeMint for working through that item, which specifically City Council authorized the purchase of that parcel several years ago from Goodwill. And we are now going to make progress in making that into housing. So lots of exciting stuff. Many of those items which were tied to the comprehensive plan, housing, zoning, lots of positive things tonight. So again, encourage passage of those three tonight. Just want to give a couple updates on some other items. There were three actually budget meetings tonight. The auditor and I have talked at length this year about since April 15th the challenges related to this year's budget process. And I'll put this in writing to everybody so we're on the same page. But the budget proposals that you will receive today, that you will receive from the directors, are essentially their original proposals with minor modifications. In years past, oftentimes we have done significant revisions before they've come to you because we have a better sense of revenue and expense projections. This year's revenue projections in particular will be later than normal. And fortunately, that changed a little bit last week, those projections. But the concept has not changed. We know that next year, 2026 revenue will be much different from 2025 revenue. And it is our goal to get the departments what they need and want in front of you. And then the auditor and I will come back to you and give our best recommendations on what we think is appropriate in terms of those budgets and any sort of deficit we might run in 2026. And so we are optimistic that we will have pretty accurate budget numbers. But of course, in light of Pixel's news, I think it would be very challenging to accurately forecast the 2026 revenue. So appreciate council's attendance at those finance meetings. Just anticipate that you will get red line versions of those requests that represent revisions that the auditor and I have come back with to get us into next year in a responsible way. A couple other just sort of housekeeping items. The construction, the Appalachian Community Grant construction paving happened on a couple roads several weeks ago. Striping has started and is almost done on several roads, Water Street being the main one. And today, activity started on Mulberry Street. As a reminder, the conversation there was whether or not council should suspend the rule related to the preservation of brick roads in the city for that stretch. Council elected not to suspend that rule, and that road, therefore, will be paved with brick. I sent a document with a little bit of detail to council today, but mostly what I want to talk about today is that is going to be a major disruption, particularly for the people who live on Mulberry Street. There are going to be challenges around parking. There's going to be challenges around trash collection, and that's for the people who live on that street. Navigating that area will be challenging as well. And so we, as the city, will go out of our way to make sure that while frustrating, we're doing our best to accommodate those challenges and help those folks out. If council or the public either hear comments, ways we can accommodate those frustrations better, please do not hesitate to reach out to us, because we're anticipating with the amount of, you've been on that road, you know it's like a roller coaster, the amount of full depth repair needed there, and then the hand laying of new bricks. We're anticipating a project that'll take and close that road for about 2 months. So it's going to be disruptive. So appreciate that patience in advance. We know it's frustrating, but you will, on Mulberry, have one of the nicest streets in town when it's all said and done. Another comment, something I want to bring up is people may have seen interesting looking vehicles in the park related to goose remediation or geese remediation. This is a topic of conversation has been for a long time. The reasons around the necessity, I don't think we've talked a lot about. I think at a superficial layer, nobody wants to step in goose poop. But as we investigated sort of the ramifications of invasion of sort of an invasive species, we realized that there really are some concerns around a high level of sort of an animal that is not natural to the area. water quality, general health risks, and then damage to the ecosystem in the park are among those. The company that we have in now is fascinating to me. Very humane approach, no injuries to the animals. If you watch the process, it's kind of amazing because not all waterfowl are scared off. Only certain ones that are essentially the problem causers. And so it has made a dramatic difference in the short term to those things that I mentioned, water quality, health, et cetera. And we're going to stick with this company. So, council passed a couple years ago the law around not feeding the wildlife in the park, which of course is something that's good for the health of the animals as well. That is, of course, a difficult law for law enforcement to enforce, right? And so we are trying to help in that with this company. So if you see somebody in a kayak with a dog in the park lake, it's okay. At least it's authorized. And then finally, I'll close on the good news that we received last week about the paper mill. As you might imagine, for the last 6 months, actually I think it's 6 months to the day on Wednesday, there have been countless meetings, conversations, visits from potential suitors to this community related to the Pixel site. It has been a challenging 6 months for a variety of reasons, but one of the hardest things has been often not being able to communicate progress to the community. Obviously, last week we got news of actual progress. The paper mill site has sold, and it's a company that we've met with several times over the past 6 months. We know that they are launching production lines, probably doing that work as we speak. We know also that it's not going to be the same level of employment in that phase of the job of the project that was at the paper mill before. But I remain optimistic that based on my conversations with that company and all those involved along the way, that the site will be able to be developed and that the company, the purchaser, in fact, is very interested in developing the whole site and making it a site that has a diversification of economic programming, which was not necessarily the case as established as the paper mill. So there's a lot of acres there, and to be able to use those acres in a productive way for this community is what gives me probably the most optimism. So I'm very appreciative to everybody who is involved in making that sale happen. And I recognize, and I hope the community recognizes, that there's a lot of hard work to come around the development of that site. But for now, I do think that there is reason for some optimism and opportunity going forward into the future. And that's my lengthy report for the evening.
Thank you, Mayor Feeney. I just want to say thank you to Mr. Baird, and you've been here so many times here to Chiillicothe. We really appreciate it, and we're researching whether we can tax you as a resident of the city. Next, we'll move on to Auditor Spetnagel.
Prior to this meeting, we held our first budget meeting, and then I just want to announce that the next one will be held on Monday, October the 27th at 5:30. And that concludes my report.
The only thing I'll add to that is council has decided that they will stream those budget meetings, so those will be streaming as well as the council meetings themselves, just so everybody is aware. There is no one here from the law director's office, so we'll now move to audience participation. Any person wishing to address council must first provide his or her name and address. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes, and I will give you a warning when there is 1 minute remaining.
Hi, I'm John Thacker, 990 Columbus Street, apartment 307, Chiillicothe. 3 items I'll go through quickly, since apparently I'm very concise and to the point when I give presentations. You can ask Shelby what that means. First, shout out. I concur with what Councilmember McCourt said about the Transit Advisory Board. They run a tight ship and a good ship there. And as also a Transit Advisory Board member, certainly appreciate the efforts they have made to keep people like myself who write it regularly a little bit better off because we don't have to pay for it, at least. But I hope that most of the people that write it appreciate it more than they do, but still, I think they do. Secondly, as to the items on tonight's agenda, specifically first, item number 7, regarding the Tiffin property, for lack of a better word. This has been resurrected from a previous kind of incarnation in which it went to 3 reads but then was tabled. I was curious to know that this form is obviously different, but as to who has the right to negotiate with the CIC, the Ross County CIC, as to how to proceed. But in what way does that make things better than the previous version? If anybody wants to address that, either Councilmember Dement or Mayor Feeney.
Yeah, I'd be happy to comment on that. I missed commenting on that in error. So the version that is in the agenda tonight was the original version that was submitted to council with the committee assignment request, and it is the version that matches Ohio law. So essentially, this is just what everybody was hoping for. My opining on the Ohio Revised Code. So, in Ohio, a municipality cannot sell land directly to anybody for a determined price. It has to go out for bid. And so what it can do, though, is determine that real estate is unnecessary or otherwise unneeded by the city, in which case the city can take action to transfer that property to the designated Community Improvement Corporation for the city. That is the action that's being taken today. The previous version of the legislation had a clause in it that basically clawed back the ability for city council to determine who ultimately signed the contract to purchase the property, which negates that portion of the revised code which permits the transfer to the Community Improvement Corporation. That version that was in front of council previously, which has now been substituted with the version that Mr. Dement has today, is the version that was drafted by our outside counsel and presented. And I think that the version that had previously come about was drafted not knowing that the original version in compliance with the Ohio Revised Code existed. So it was always the intent that this original version be in front of council, which matched Ohio Revised Code, ultimately because the city council cannot determine directly who to sell to without something going up for public bid. I hope that helps.
Quite a bit, and thank you for taking up a good portion of my 5 minutes. The second question is on item number 8.
Your time's up. No, I'm kidding.
Item number 8 is regarding a committee meeting which I was unable to attend, and because the Finance and Technology Committee has not yet determined that live streaming all committee meetings is a good idea. Although I think it would be fair to say that Mr. Freed believes it's a good idea, but it might be difficult to accomplish. But at any rate, I was unable to attend that meeting. I'm curious to know the litigation, and Ms. Bennett is not here, so perhaps Mr. McKeever or the mayor or whoever would know. The law director is not here either. Is this intended for current litigation to become part of that? And what do we have to do to qualify for that, to be a party to that litigation? Or is it intended for future possible forever chemicals litigation? You can take 5 minutes.
I'll be happy to comment on this one as well. So the legislation item number 8 refers to what's known as multi-district litigation, which is most similar to what we would think of as a class action. It's sort of in that same world. That litigation has been ongoing for probably several years at this point. We are joining that class or that multi-district litigation specifically related to requirements that are coming from the federal EPA related to the review of potential PFAS contaminants in city water supplies. And so they'll do a review. And what happens is if you join by a certain time, you avail yourself to certain money that's available in that settlement. The settlement's actually already happened. The pot of money is established. And by joining, we are basically being able to tap into that money to do review. And in some instances, I suppose remediation is not the word, but my brain is not thinking of the word. Basically, you put filters on the system if it's necessary to filter out those PFAS chemicals. And so it's basically letting ourselves tap into that settlement before that window for settlement closes, because the EPA is going to require certain testing anyway.
Okay. My obvious, you know what, I don't see Jason Sally here tonight, so I can't ask on his behalf, but do you anticipate that there will be any future litigation? Any way to know?
I think we can update you on that later, because until we talk to the law director and others, I think we'd be guessing. So,
okay,
that's it.
Thank you very much. The rest of the other 6 are A-OK.
Well, thank you.
You got my thumbs up.
Hello, hello. My name is AJ from 81 North Paint Street, apartment 2C. 2C does not exist. I'm in apartment 2B. Sorry, I guess you're not the only one without brain cells today. I just wanted to thank everybody who attended the League of Women's Candidates Night last Tuesday. It was a great event, and I was really happy to see everybody there. And I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of the NAACP's Meet the Candidates Night coming up. It is on Tuesday, the 21st at 6:30 at the Carver Community Center for people to just meet those running for local office, chat, ask questions and whatnot. Just want to make sure that everybody was aware of that, and I look forward to seeing everybody there. Thank you.
Thank you. Or anyone else?
Hi, David White, 179 Church Street, here to speak on behalf of the geese. They're not an invasive species. They're a protected migratory waterfowl, protected under the Migratory Bird Treaty Act in the U.S. and the Migratory Birds Convention Act in Canada. So I think it was stupid to spend that money to try to run them off. I congratulate council for the abject failure to be successful in running them off in 2025. There's a good, healthy population of Canadian geese down at the park. I think it's a great thing. I think we're fortunate to share our resources with them, and I hope we do all we can to protect the resources for those animals as well as the rest of the animals down at the park in the future. In particular, I hope that the Corps of Engineers or whoever cleared the brush from the island just on the other side of the park out in the Scioto River does not do that again this year, providing that sort of habitat and that protection for the geese that we don't want in the park. It'd be nice to have some protection for them outside the park. But in sum, I think it's silly to try to criminalize feeding geese, create a crime. I think it's silly to try to run them off. I think they're a wonderful addition to Kangji Park, and I enjoy them every time I go down.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, we'll move on to old business. Is there any old business to come before the council? If there's no old business to come before council, I would now turn to the clerk for petitions and correspondence.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. I've not received anything.
Is there any new business to come before council? There are two things that I wanted to mention. One is that we're going to be streaming all those budget meetings just to make sure everybody's aware of that once again, so that anyone can view those. And I know we had an announcement that at 5:30 on the 27th, I believe there'll be one, so everyone can stream that. There will also be a review meeting at 6 o'clock next Monday, the 20th. I will send out the notice on that. Mr. Creed and others have been discussing the issue of property taxes, and we're going to be talking about the real estate property taxes and what might be able to be done to assist residents. So I will send that out, and that will go out to the list of everyone who's requested that information. And that will once again be next Monday at 6 o'clock. With that, we will move on to the reading of ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. This evening, we have 8 items on our agenda. Item number 1 is the third reading of an ordinance adopting the new Unified Development Code, UDC, and repealing Part 11, Chapter 1321 and Chapter 1322 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Chiillicothe, Ohio, pursuant to ORC Section 713.07 through ORC Section 713.12.
President Shoemaker.
Mr. Dement.
At this time, I would like to make a motion to amend this legislation to correct simple typo errors and update the date of effect to December 1st, 2025.
Is there a second to that motion? Second by Ms. Dunn. And the clerk will call the roll relative to the amendment.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed,
Yes.
The ordinance is amended. The clerk will call the roll relative to the ordinance itself.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The ordinance is adopted. Next ordinance.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Item number 2 is the second reading of an ordinance to approve current replacement pages to the Chiillicothe Codified Ordinances and declaring an emergency.
Ordinance will move to the next agenda. The next resolution.
Item number 3 is the second reading of a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract between the City of Chiillicothe and Green Township for a joint economic development district and declaring an emergency.
President Shoemaker. At this
Mr. Dement.
time, I would like to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule on this, please.
Second by Ms. Preston. Clerk will call the roll relative to the waiver of the 3-read rule.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
The 3-read rule is waived. The clerk will call the roll relative to the resolution.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Resolution is adopted. Next resolution.
Item number 4 is the first reading of a resolution authorizing the mayor or president of council to execute an economic development transfer form, TREX, for a liquor permit for Ohio Springs Incorporated, doing business as Sheets number 825, located at 1525 North Bridge Street, Chiillicothe, Ohio 45601.
The resolution will move to the next agenda. Next ordinance.
Item number 5 is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a second amendment to the lease agreement between the City of Chiillicothe and T-Mobile Central, LLC, for telecommunications equipment located at 529 West Water Street, Chiillicothe, Ohio.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda. The next ordinance.
Item number 6 is the first reading of an ordinance repealing all prior versions of Section 915.08 of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Chiillicothe, Part 9, Title 3, Public Utilities, and enacting a new Section 915.08 to clarify and update water rate provisions.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda. The next ordinance.
Item number 7 is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a development agreement with the Ross County Community Improvement Corporation as the Community Improvement Corporation of the city to enter into an agreement and otherwise take all action necessary to convey ownership of certain real estate of the city located at 0 adjacent 364 5th Street, Ohio, and 145 South Bridge Street, Ohio, over to the Ross County Community Improvement Corporation, and further authorizing the transfer of this property to promote the welfare of the citizens of Chiillicothe and declaring an emergency.
President Shoemaker.
Mr. Dement.
At this time, I would like to make a motion to again waive the 3-read rule on this item.
Second by Ms. Payne. The clerk will call the roll relative to the waiver of the 3-read rule.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed,
Yes.
The 3-read rule is waived. The clerk will call the roll relative to the ordinance.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Next ordinance.
Item number 8 is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Grossman and Kelly, PLLC, for legal services to prosecute civil claims related to PFAS contamination, MDL 2873, and declaring an emergency.
Ordinance will move to the next agenda. If there is no other business to come before council, I would accept a motion to adjourn by Ms. Dunn, seconded by Mr. Barnes, and the clerk will call the roll.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you all for coming.